Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. I am your host, Roland Kerrison, aka Ro Nice. Again, my co-host is not in studio with me tonight. He had some things going on yet again this weekend. So definitely want to, you know, big up to him and what he got going on, and hopefully he'll be back in next week for the next broadcast. So this week I had a lot going on with work and other personal things I had going on, so I didn't have a lot of time to totally fully prepare. So I guess I won't keep you guys too long. I want you to think I'm unprofessional. I don't do my work when it comes to the podcast. I definitely do. Just had a lot going on, so I definitely want to talk to you guys a little bit tonight about where we are in this world with having employers and working for yourself. Now, like I said, as I go through these things in my own personal life, I want to talk to you guys about it. So I want to get your feedback about anything that you guys may think, or make maybe comments and suggestions to help me understand or help me get some clarity in some of the things I may be going through, and some people out there may be going through them as well. So, biggest thing is right now I am a licensed real estate agent and I'm a used car salesman. So the licensed real estate agent, I am a 1099. I do work for a firm, but in essence, I do work for myself. My other job being a used car salesman, I'm not gonna name any names about where I work. Some things transpired this week at work, and it got me feeling a little heavy in thought about, should we as men and women, African American men and women, should we work for the corporate world, or should we do our own thing? Now, since the age of 16, I've worked at multiple jobs in the corporate world for multiple different companies, for multiple different genres, and different things as such. So, the employers, don't have any real, I guess I want to say, loyalty to the employees anymore. I knew, back in the day when our grandparents had jobs, they stayed there for 20, 30, 40, 50 years until they retired. And the employers were somewhat more loyal to them, their wants, their needs, and what's going on in their day-to-day. As I gotten older and worked different jobs and moved up in and out of different positions, I noticed the employers these days don't have that same, I would say, sense of loyalty and respect for the employees that they have. And I want to clarify, and I want to say good employees, because not all employees are good. So I understand they should have certain trepidations when it comes to employees that don't want to perform, don't want to come to work, such and such, such and such. So now, with that being said, I'm thinking about the option of, what do you guys think about changing jobs and giving a 2-week notice, or going into business for yourself and giving a 2 weeks notice to an employer? Do you think you should or you shouldn't? And the reason why I'm thinking about those things is because, when you work for someone else and you making someone else rich and doing the job they want you to do, now I'm not saying all employers pay badly or whatever, but when you're working for an employer, at any given time, um, they can close up shop, whether it be big business, small business. They can either close up shop and ain't really got to give you any kind of notification, or they can fire you, especially working here in South Carolina, which is an at-will state, which means an employer can really fire you just to fire you without any real kind of explanation or precedent. Now, I know most employers do like to go through a process when they fire you, as far as for disciplinary actions, attendance, what, etc., etc. But in essence, in the South Carolina, your boss can walk up to you at any day and say, "Hey, you're no longer needed," and they don't have to give you any explanation. And what that means is they can play with you getting unemployment benefits, whatever, or, not necessarily fully stop them, or make it hard for you to get them, or as well as make it delay the process. So, and when my thought process with that is, do we give them a 2 week notice? Do we show them that level of loyalty and respect to say, hey, here's this handwritten document or email that I'm seeing, say, hey, effective on this date 2 weeks from today, I will be resigning for whatever reason. Now, I done seen people do that, and the employer being as unloyal as they can be, they be like, well, you could just go home today. And which I think is messed up, because, as we go through the professional job world, we're told that giving your employer a 2 weeks notice is professional. It's what you should do, so you don't burn any bridges, or you can possibly get a good reference for your next job. Now, if that's something you decide to do, to go from one job to another, but not necessarily, that's everybody goes. Some people put in a 2 weeks notice because they got planned to do their own thing. And that's something that has been on my mind, as far as me doing my own thing. As you see me going with this podcast, that's one of those ventures that I'm thinking about, really, really, really doing. That's my own thing. I mean, I know it's going to take time to grow, and no, I'm not stupid enough to quit my job, no, and rely on this podcast, because it's not where it needs to be. So it's just something that I told myself in 2024, that this is something that I'm putting on the plate and I'm putting out there, and I'm doing it. It's not gonna be not a thought in my mind that I've had for the last 5+ years. I actually finally put it together, and you guys have seen that with this being episode 10. But like I said, some things transpired at my work that made me think about this, and hence why the topic for the night is what it is. Now, with this being the topic for the night, I beg my followers, my listeners, to really comment on this one. Really give your feedback. I got the videos posted on, whether it be TikTok, Facebook, especially YouTube. Definitely on my YouTube feed. Leave your comments, or you can send emails to cheaperthantherapyshow@gmail.com, or you can text the phone number 803-509-3477. I really want people's perspective on this, because I know I'm not alone, truly, truly not alone in this scenario. How do you feel about being that professional by giving a 2 weeks notice to a company that, like I said, at any point in time can fire you just because it's Tuesday? Or, they can say, hey, we're going to lay off or close down because it's what we want to do, so they can get richer, whatever, etc. Or maybe the business ain't doing as great, but a lot of times employers just shut down shop because it's beneficial to them they move jobs to overseas, different countries, whatever. Because here in America, um, you want to get paid a living wage to support your family and to grow and to have discretionary income to enjoy this life. So employers, they don't want to pay you what you're worth, so they'll go to foreign countries to pay them pennies, so that way they can increase their profit margins and not pay a lot out of salaries. So, which in my mind is not professional on their part. So, why should we, as loyal employees, good, hard working employees, be professional to them by giving 2 weeks' notice? So, you know, what do you guys think we should be doing as a people? Should we be working for these large corporations or even small companies? Not saying they're extremely large corporations, but these companies in general, that where you feel overworked and undervalued. So is that something you should think about? Not saying you always have to go into business for yourself. You can change jobs, or some people do go from one job to the next because they want to go to that place where they feel valued and important and compensated, correctly, for their hard work and dedication. Because people don't realize, just like our children with school, we spend a large majority of our days at a job. People are like, well, you only work 40 hours a week. Okay. Some people work more than 40 hours a week. Some people work more than 8 to 12 hours in a day. There's only 24 hours in a day. Some people work more than 8. Some people work 10, 12. I done seen and know people work 16 hours in a day. So how much time we are devoting to these employers that take us away from our family, our friends, or just enjoying life in general, and then one day they could just walk up to you and say, hey Roland, your service is no longer needed. Hey Kathy or Tim or whatever, whoever you are out there, they can tell you your services are no longer needed, and now you got to figure out how you're going to provide for your family. So what do you think you should do? I'm trying to get some clarity and understanding. That, like I said, that's why the episode is what it is. I want some real feedback on this one, because I've had all different type of jobs and different industries, and I've enjoyed some, I haven't enjoyed some. There's a mixed bag of everything. But lately, as I get older, I contemplate the idea of more just doing for myself, going into business for myself, and not working for a company that's not owned by me, whether it be large or small. It doesn't really matter about the size of the company. It's just whether it's I'm working for someone else and not working for myself, because I work for jobs where I can see where I've made people rich, and I mean super rich, and as an employee along with the other employees there. And like I said, I'm just a number, and if I don't do things the way they want them to be done, I'm out. So like I said, some things occurred at my own workplace that got me thinking about that. And they say small business owners are the backbone of America. We employ a large majority of the working population. Um, I'm not. I don't have 100%, factual stats on that. But in my personal opinion, sometimes I disagree with that, because I see there's small businesses, yes. But when you're a small business and you only got 20 employees compared to the large corporation that got 20,000, those kind of numbers get kind of skewed. But I definitely didn't have time to do the exact research. And when I do follow up and recap, next week, I definitely will have some statistics on that. As far as how many people do private entities employ versus your large corporations. Um, it just I'm thinking about it in so many ways. As far as I watch my mother and my father, God rest their souls, work for companies, state owned, privately owned. I myself, family members, friends, I know we've all been through it. And there's days we come home, not saying we hate our jobs or don't like our jobs or we're not invested in our careers, but there are days we come home like, when you get that feeling that you hit that ceiling, like there's no room for growth or advancement or movement, and or if the opportunities are there, you're being looked over for, let's say, someone of a different color, um or even now with what's going on with the refugees coming over, the migrants coming over from these other countries, they're getting those opportunities because one, they're gonna work for less, they're not gonna demand as much, and that's due to they're coming from situations where um what we demanded 20 years ago, that's great for them, but we demand something different now. So you know, like I said, I'm balling it down to how professional do we be in these situations? How much do we care about the employer, knowing that they may not care at all about us at all? I mean, it's something that's going to affect your livelihood either way. Because going into business for yourself is not necessarily easy. It's not for everyone. So I'm not suggesting that everyone just quit their job and go to business for themselves. That's kind of crazy. I just want to know, that's me. But I know I'm not alone. Totally alone. There are people out there who believe about just quitting their job and doing their own thing and working for themselves because they have that entrepreneurial spirit within them. And I know people personally that I have told it to that always worked in the corporate world. They never thought about anything different, but now it's like they starting to understand that working for someone else ain't always the dream that they always painted to you, for the reasons why we go to college, the reasons why fresh out of high school we get a job. Now, when you're talking in terms of it's different strokes for different folks, different age groups. I know your younger age groups, your 16s to 25s. I mean, even they are doing their own thing with social media, online gaming, and things of that nature. I see kids on YouTube that's basically fronting their parents' lives off of video streaming. So they're even learning that doing their own thing sometimes is better than working in the corporate world. Now, there are jobs in the corporate world that are needed. We need our lawyers, we need our doctors, such and such. Even they can have their own private practices. Um, Engineers, computer programmers. Every job now has become more, what I say, the possibility of it being you can do yourself and produce a product. Those numbers are increasing. and becoming more, prevalent in today's world. Because I mean, when you like, I like watching Shark Tank, and on Shark Tank, a lot of these people come in with ideas and opening these businesses. They're making a product and they're hiring people. Even they're producing something that a large corporation would have produced if someone would have took the idea to them. But you know, if I take an idea to a large corporation and they want to give me a pennies on the dollar, or not really will pay me for what that idea is really worth, then why not do it for myself? Yeah, it's gonna be a harder time getting it up and getting it going because you don't have the capital behind it, but you are getting it out there and you are making a contribution to society. You're making a contribution to the workforce. You're making a contribution by hiring people and by producing a product. And sometimes I learn, when you a small business owner that have worked in the corporate world, you take more pride in your employees because you know what they go through and where they came from. You came from the same place, so you treat them differently than, sometimes these big fat cat corporations. They don't treat people with the respect they deserve because, again, like I say, you're just a number to them, and you don't want to feel that way. So as I said, look, and they produce products that are, starting to make the world over, and with online purchasing and online sales and ordering and shipping, I mean, now you have the ability to print your own shipping labels. You have the ability to do so much things. And if you don't know how to do certain things, you can outsource it to someone that went to school that started a business. I like, my logo and everything. I know nothing about graphic design. I outsource that. You know, my son's going to Francis Marion for computer science, so that's something he's gonna get into. I mean, at the end of the day, you can, if you don't know everything, you can outsource some parts of your business to make it grow and become better and turn into a large corporation where you may not have to have 20,000 employees, but you might have 200, and that can change, the course of the way this economy and the way people get products, goods, and services, because you decided to step away and step out on faith and take a chance on yourself that your current employer may not have taken on you. They just want to give you a promotion and give you a couple of dollars raise to keep you there while they reap the real benefits of your expertise, your knowledge, and your brain. And not saying they don't have, expertise and knowledge themselves, but, a lot of employers will keep you in a certain spot because they don't want to see you do better, or they don't want that competition because they know you might have that brain power to do what they do and provide them real competition and really put a hurt on their numbers and their business. So, I think about that, one of my jobs I had, when I tell you how crazy it can go, imagine sitting at your desk working, and at about 4:30 you get an email saying, "Hey, clock out and go home." And that was not just to me individually, that was everybody in the company. Clock out, go home. And you wouldn't think, I mean, I've been working there for almost 3 years and just get an email, clock out, go home, it's over. Like, and you dumbfounded because you don't know what to do, and you like, well, what am I supposed to do? So And yes, you're supposed to have your backup plan. That's part of, being financially smart, stable, having your 6 to 12 months of savings to cover yourself in the event that it happens. But even with having that, you still got to ask yourself, what are you going to do when that happens? You know, some people don't like to sit at home and wait for something else to come along. Some people don't like to, live in the what if. Some people just like to just work. So, and even if it is for themselves, they just like to work. So, even if you got your reserves to keep your family afloat for that 6 to 12 months, you still gotta you don't want to be that person to sit around and think about what if, unless that happens when you're close to retirement age. Now, if you're close to retirement age, that's just a different ball all in itself. But I'm talking about people, you know, I say 21 to 50. I'm gonna say 21 to 50 because that is the large majority of the working class right now. You're 21 to 50-year-olds. So, I mean, what do? At 50, you're not ready to retire. And at 21, you sure as hell ain't ready to retire. So you just got to figure out, your next move. So, like I said, again, this podcast tonight is not going to be long. I was just, with work. I apologize to everybody, for not having some stronger topics. Like I told you, this is going to be about real stuff. I mean, like I said, when we have those crazy topics, when we had the GOAT debate, that was just taking a episode off from the seriousness of everything going on. And last week, I talked a little real estate, to give everybody that part of who I am. And eventually I'm coming up on a time where I'm gonna do a financial literacy series in a couple of episodes speaking about that. Again, I'm no expert, but I do know enough that I can give some real good advice to help people out of making bad decisions. Because again, as a used car salesman, I see people make bad decisions every day. And not saying buying a car is a bad decision. Some, financial people will tell you it is. Some will tell you it's not. I when I mean the bad decisions, I mean just bad decisions. Even with buying a car, there's a bad decision of buying a car as far as buying a depreciating asset. But then there's some bad decisions as far as buying a car where you just didn't do something smart overall. And like I said, I don't want to dig too deep into that tonight. It's just I'm just thinking of talking to people about these jobs that are out here, and Lord knows we in South Carolina, there's not a ton of jobs in South Carolina. Anybody can go on Indeed or Monster and understand that at any point in time there might only be 50, 60,000 jobs available across the entire state. But then when you compare it to a larger city that might have 100 to 150,000 jobs across one large major city, as opposed to the whole state of South Carolina, that'll make you think that, I know there's not a lot of opportunities out there. So that's why when I'm talking about entrepreneurship, when you walk away from these jobs, and that's something we should start thinking about, because we can provide something different, especially if we have an idea, or we might could provide a product or a service that's already available, but we might be able to provide it a little bit better than the employer we were working for. So, You know, that's something